Before I even begin, I just want to put out a disclaimer out here that for the purposes of avoiding getting kicked off YouTube, I will be carefully selecting my words to avoid being flagged when talking about the pandemic of 2020. So, yes, I'll be saying the word jab and a lot of other things instead of the B word. So, let's get into it. The American Red Cross is now asking blood donors if they ever received the you know what. And in answering that question, if you answer yes, they want you to call ahead to see if you're still eligible to donate. So that's exactly what we did here. I called the American Red Cross myself, and this is how it went.
Thank you for calling American Red Cross Blood Services. My name is. Can I help you today?
Hi, my name's Gabrielle. I was calling because I went ahead and did the questionnaire for Rapid Pass. And I'm at the point where it asked me whether or not I had the COVID-19. So I'm just calling the number provided to see what I need to follow up with.
Oh, okay. COVID-19. I'll go over it here. So there's no deferral time for eligible blood donors who are vaccinated COVID-19. Manufactured by AstraZeneca, Janssen, Moderna, Novavax, and Pfizer. As long as you're providing your symptom-free and fever-free, you'll be fine to donate.
Do you have to prove what provider you may have gotten? Or is that just by trusting word of mouth?
Word of mouth, yeah, trusting the word of mouth. Yeah, we do honor the donors, and we do, but then we do test them, so if anything does come back, we'll definitely let the donors know as well, because there would be a hold on the record
of something coming back, like what would that be like?
Any testings that we do, just pretty much any testing that we do. I'm not sure exactly all the testing that we would do. I'd have to connect you over with our donor client support team, and they can give you more information if you'd like.
Oh, actually, yeah, I would be interested in that. Is that okay if I'm forwarded on? Thank you.
Yeah. Give me a few moments. Yeah, okay. I should have got you connected over because they actually have a lot more information than I do. I just scheduled an appointment, so give me a few moments.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the Red Cross. My name is. How can I help you?
Hi, my name's Gabrielle. I was just forwarded to your department. I just had some questions about the screener for Rapid Pass in regards to the.
Okay.
So I was talking to your colleague, just making sure that there's no issues with donating blood. He mentioned that there's a possibility for some testing on the donation samples, and that I or whoever would donate would be contacted back, or the donation would be put on hold if there was any issues after testing blood. So I was just calling to follow up to see what those testings were, if any at all, and just kind of like what to look out for prior to donating blood.
No, it doesn't matter which one you receive. It's just if it's the live, as long as it's been the 14 days, then you're okay to donate. They don't look. There's no additional testing that they do regarding or testing of the blood because someone had. They just standard for any live is generally a 14-day, sometime longer waiting period, regardless of what type of live it is.
Okay. All right, great. I think I have all my questions, and I can continue on with the questionnaire, it looks like. So the American Red Cross says as long as donors are symptom-free of the you-know-what, are feeling well, and here's the kicker that we all saw. On one hand, one Red Cross employee said that there is several tests on donated blood that could be flagged for donation, while another employee said the latter. But as long as one can provide the manufacturer's name of the you-know-what, then an individual is free to donate blood. So like the Red Cross said, the reason is to be able to decipher if the individual donating has had a quote unquote live attenuated shot. But if that's the case, then why wouldn't that be the question on the donation questionnaire with a little explanation for the individual to go over right here? Instead of prompting each donor who checks yes to the jab to effectively call the Red Cross for an additional screener. It's worth noting that at the start of 2024, just last month, the American Red Cross declared, bet you didn't know this, declared an emergency blood shortage, claiming that our country is facing the lowest number of people giving blood in 20 years, falling at 40%. And so the Red Cross is calling for more donors this month. But are the people wary of donating blood, or are people who are donating blood that is not being used? Are these donations no good? Just this month, House Bill 115 from Wyoming, known as the Donated Blood mRNA Disclosure, aligns with this broader movement in the US to provide options for those who want to choose between blood donations, calling for a blood labeling bill of sorts. And this reflects a trend seen across the country, including in Montana last year and Connecticut at the time both failed. But in challenging this question of versus blood, three entities, being the Association for the Advancement of Blood and Biotherapies, America's Blood Centers, and of course, the American Red Cross, released a joint statement stating that in conjunction with the FDA, there is no scientific evidence that demonstrates adverse outcomes for the transfusions of blood products collected from donors, and therefore, no medical reason to distinguish or separate blood donations from individuals who have received the jab. But thinking about this, if this is the case, then why is providing the manufacturer name when donating blood to the Red Cross so important, or requested even at all? Aren't all safe? Wasn't that what we were told for years all along? It all seems a little off and, dare I say, conflated, considering that the American Red Cross is saying that amongst Pfizer and Moderna, the Johnson & Johnson shot is now okayed per this screener on their questionnaire. Do you remember when Johnson & Johnson was completely lost in the trenches during the production race with Moderna and Pfizer? I do. It's a medical conglomerate that has been around since 1886, and then all of a sudden, it completely failed to create a safe jab. No? Well, I'll jog your memory. Remember back in 2021, their Baltimore factory lost $15 million due to contamination. A little odd. J&J had a lot of heartburn, no pun intended, as they were also getting hammered for, at the time, 60 known cases of thrombosis or blood clotting out of 18 million. But with the pressure from the FDA, they suddenly shut down their infectious disease and unit, the whole thing, following that alleged contamination. And it's worth noting that J&J was different from the likes of Pfizer and Moderna. It was not an mRNA. And I know everyone keeps shouting mRNA, but what does that actually mean, right? Well, an mRNA is a type of RNA found in cells. And when injected with an mRNA, these molecules carry the genetic information needed to make proteins. A little science class for you. So basically, in simple terms, they carry the instructions that direct cells to make a protein. Now, it's important to distinguish mRNA from live, right? Apparently, according to the American Red Cross, it is. But again, why then? Shouldn't we be looking into what mRNA looks like and what the long-term effects are? Realize that mRNA is relatively new compared to live. mRNA just showed up a couple of years ago. And if you take an mRNA, you're prone to an increased risk of DNA damage, chronic autoinflammation, autoimmunity, and cancer. So despite this, our government, the CDC, the World Health Organization, they were fixated on mRNA only and kicked out any others from the mix that weren't. And so mRNA were kept in the market by Big Pharma. Primarily, anything else was said to be due to thrombosis, again, which is blood clotting. But couldn't the same be said for the likes of a Pfizer or a Moderna? We've all seen reports of those receiving these you-know-whats and having chest pains, trouble breathing, myocarditis, pericarditis. Even just this February, a multi-country report was dropped after evaluating 100 million people and being able to link negative effects to the on things that I just listed out. So there's that. The first part is skepticism over big pharma, and I guess now big donor when it comes to. So again, why do we have to identify which provider? If it was for a good cause, yes, I absolutely could get behind the freedom of being able to choose whether or not I'd want to receive or blood in the case of a blood donation. I think that's a great step for blood banks, but clearly, per the FDA and the American Red Cross now, that's not their purpose in asking the question. So this begs the question of what info are they hiding from us? What does big pharma, big donor know? And why do they actually need this info? Is big pharma influencing the American Red Cross to stick with the narrative that only their drugs are safe and effective while they continue to collect their own research regarding versus blood samples? This makes my head spin. It genuinely is unclear. But there are some things that are clear, right? And what is clear is who funds the Red Cross. Of those that donate large lump sums to the American Red Cross, Walgreens, very convenient spot, one-stop shopping, but Walgreens is a top donor. Coincidentally, Walgreens completely flourished during the pandemic. I'm talking, if you guys don't remember, I'm talking an online appointment portal, an app. Remember, they jump-started the sale on testing kits. They completely expanded their pandemic initiative. Let me highlight the fact that their pandemic-related sales amassed nearly $300 million at the time. That's buck wild. And of course, they are a huge proponent of jabs, right? Then go down the list. There's Delta Airlines. They are the longest standing, since 1941, nonprofit partner, to be exact, with Delta and American Red Cross. They are the largest corporate blood drive sponsor in the US and also a huge proponent, again, of the jab. Remember, Delta Airlines announced that the jab was a condition of employment for new flight attendant positions. And in addition, they subjected employees that are to pay an extra $200 per month for the company-sponsored healthcare plan. Oddly enough, as you go down the list, the Bank of Montreal and the Royal Bank of Canada also donate to this American organization. But why? Don't we all remember Canada's response to this pandemic? A complete lockdown, even when, does anybody remember the Canadian Freedom Convoy? When that started and they provided a GoFundMe online to rally and protest of the pandemic lockdown, and then Canada's government responded by freezing those assets? Yes, I remember that. Not only is it worth considering who donates to the organization, but who's actually on the board. Interestingly enough, the former CFO, yes, I said CFO of Moderna, is on the Audit and Risk Management Committee. His name's Lawrence Kim. He went to UPenn, my school, go Quakers. Not in this context. He was at Moderna and he raised capital to support technology and product development efforts in mRNA-specific medicines. He also oversaw the overtaking of MedImmune by AstraZeneca for over $15 billion. Which I know we keep talking about Moderna and Pfizer and J&J, but AstraZeneca is also a major jab provider and is included on this Red Cross screener. And anyway, Lawrence Kim, he made some dough. He made $37 million selling stock in 2020 while with Moderna during the pandemic. The pandemic was one heck of a cash cow business and a great networking event as well. Because also on this Audit and Risk Management Committee is Aradhana Sarin, hope I didn't crush that name, but the CFO again of AstraZeneca. And totaling contributions by party affiliation soared in 2020, coming from Democrats at nearly 300,000, while Republicans appeared to have not cracked even 60,000 in donations. So where do we go from here? Considering the nation had to fight the FDA to roll back its intent to release jab side effect data until 2096 for an mRNA that is only a few years old. Considering now that we have big pharma in play and now big donor, big charity, big whatever you want to call it, that's what's happening. So what does the Red Cross know that we don't?